Hello. Hello, welcome everyone. How are you doing? I mean, we are women in energy, so we need a little bit more energy. So how are you doing? Good, good. So my name is Diana Franco. I'm the Vice President of Women.NYC. Women.NYC is the official initiative of the City of New York to make this city the best place in the world for women of all backgrounds and help them and support them to succeed and thrive in their businesses and careers. Thank you. So the energy sector is a vibrant field that provides solutions, both traditional and innovative, addressing the existential risk of climate change, driving job creation, investment, and industry diversification, while advancing the City of New York's vision for an economic future that puts human well-being at the forefront. Unfortunately, women are heavily underrepresented in the industry. The good news is that we are all here today to change that. And I think today you have the opportunity either to be the first or to open the door for someone else and work on making this industry a reflection of our city's diversity. Perhaps it's through a connection or a better understanding of the opportunities in the industry, or just by listening the women who have been there and who have gone through all kinds of challenges like the women will have today in our panel. So before we start, I want to thank these events organizers and our partners. Thanks to Women in Energy, the Center on Global Energy and Policy, and NYU for their support. Also to the amazing team who helped us to make this possible. Without them, we wouldn't be here. Nicole Monroe, Laurel Lafevre, Sofia Musa, and Alexandra Martinez. Woo! Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Jessica Weiss. She is the Director of Women in Energy at the Center on Global Energy Policy here at Columbia. She is a visionary and an accomplished executive with over 15 years working on building opportunities and tools for the next generation of professionals in different areas of the economy. So let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you, Diana. I'm sure you're all so sick of my voice by now, so apologies, but I'm hoping that this will be brief. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes talking about the energy sector. What is it? What kind of companies are in it? And what kind of opportunities are in it? So that's what the goal of this conversation is. But before I do that, I'm going to take you through what Women in Energy is. So I'm the program director of the Women in Energy Initiative at the Center on Global Energy Policy at Columbia University. And our vision is that there's equal gender representation at every level within the energy sector. And we hope to get there. Our mission is to do that really in 3 ways: sharing and developing research, expanding the pipeline, and supporting professionals. Tonight is a perfect way to literally inhabit expanding the pipeline. The idea is that you all go into the energy sector and to make it a more diverse and balanced sector. So what is the energy sector? There's a lot of you here who are studying energy who know this way, way better than I do. But for those of you who don't, it's a complex, interrelated network of companies that are indirectly and directly involved in the production and distribution of energy that powers the economy, heats and cools buildings and homes, and facilitates means of production and transportation. Why work in the energy sector? There's so many reasons, but I listed 4. Reason number 1, it's expanding. In 2022, it added 300,000 jobs, taking it to over 8 million. Prior to COVID, it was one of the fastest growing sectors in the economy. Governments are investing in energy. In the US, 2 bills in the last 4 years are investing in job creation, emissions reduction, and consumer energy savings. Energy is on the front line of climate change. Energy accounts for more than 3/4 of total greenhouse gas emissions globally. So if you want to work in a sector that's actually combating climate change, energy is the sector. And energy needs more diversity. There's only 26% of the workforce in 2022 is women. That's, I mean, just, we have so much work to do, and so events like this are all part of that work. And the industry has a lower than average percentage of workers who are Black. It is underrepresented in every stretch. So I'm gonna now list some types of employers. This list is not exhaustive, and there's about 1 million ways you can slice the energy sector, okay? You can talk about it lots of different ways, but this way I think is the most tangible for folks who are a little less familiar. So first of all, there's traditional energy, right? That's oil and gas companies. That's where you get your gas. That's Hess, that's ExxonMobil. Those are traditional energy companies. Then there's companies that are considered climate tech, organizations that are working on reducing emissions and addressing global warming through technology. Ørsted is a great example of that. Utilities, organizations that generate, transmit, and distribute electricity. Con Ed, right? And then here are 4 other segments of the sector. Financial institutions, organizations that fund the sector. Research and education, like the Center on Global Energy Policy, institutions that educate and conduct research on the energy sector. Government, and multilateral NGOs. So there are so many different kinds of organizations you can work in the energy sector. But if that's not of interest and you're kind of more interested in the types of organizations, the type of work that you're doing, here are possible careers and jobs that you can have in the sector. And I've broken this up in 6 ways. Again, this is not exhaustive. This is just a slice. This industry is vast and large, and there are so many employment opportunities, but I broke it up in 6 ways. First is finance, and here are some titles in finance. For example, an analyst in project finance. Second is engineering. An EV project engineer is an example. Third is data, like a data engineer or an energy analyst. Fourth is policy. There are so many different roles in policy, but here are a couple examples. There are a lot of roles in ESG work in companies that aren't necessarily energy companies. Those weren't even included in the list that we just gave. So for example, there's somebody here who works on the energy team at Google. Is that person still in the room? There she is. Hey. So they work on the in an energy team at Google. Most big companies have teams that work on energy or in ESG, doing sustainability work. Operations, and there's, so many different kinds of roles in operations. So this is just a taste. This is just a very quick overview of what this sector has, what kind of companies are in it, and what kind of roles. Let's see what the next, okay. Before we go on to the next slide and before we introduce our panel, Women in Energy is here to meet with you about, I don't know what I want to do, but I'm interested in energy. Who has met with me one-on-one in this room? So there's like 6 or 7 of them. And I've met one-on-one with them. We also set up time with energy professionals who have expertise in different segments of energy to meet, sorry, it's nice to talk with my hands so much, to meet one-on-one with folks to talk about specific segments or to get advice. And then we do events like this that help directly connect you and inform you. So these are all the opportunities Women in Energy has, and we hope that you take advantage of them. With that, I will introduce our panel. Panelists, please join me as I introduce you. I will say to start that Cristina Garcia was unable to join us tonight, unfortunately, but we do have an amazing panel, starting with our moderator, Nse-Abasi Esema. I know I probably got the first name wrong, but the last 2 horribly. I'm so sorry. She's the Senior Vice President of the Green Economy for the New York City Economic Development Corporation. Najin Kim, who's the founding CEO and Creative Climate Officer for New Money. And Stephanie Williams, the Director of External and Government Affairs for Emanate. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you, and I hand it over to Nse.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. I am so excited to be able to moderate this conversation, to spend some time with Stephanie and Najin. We got to hear a little bit about their stories prior to coming up here, so excited that we get to share some of this with you. So before we kick off, I think we'll just start by asking Stephanie and Najin to introduce themselves a little bit. Please share where you work and tell us a little bit about yourself, what brought you into the energy sector. So we'll start with you, Najin.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I'm really amazed by your interest and passions about the energy industry. So I'm a founder and then Creative Climate Officer of Nimani. So my background was sustainable development and architecture when I was in Colombia. And then Nimani is actually measuring real-time carbon of the buildings and try to monetize the carbon potential, reduction potentials, and helping all those buildings and also impact investors investing in the reshaped marketplaces. So,
thank you, Najin. Stephanie?
Yes, I'm the Director of External and Government Relations for Emanate Energy. And Emanate Energy is a relatively new company that spun off from Goldman Sachs, which is local to New York. I'm sure most of you know of this company. And they had a renewable energy fund that they spun off into an independent company that I joined. I've been working in the energy field since 1990. I started at a trade association in the policy sector. In transportation, trucking. I moved into oil and gas, was there for 10 years, and then I decided I wanted to be a renewable energy lobbyist instead of an oil lobbyist, and I made the transition. It was difficult, but it's doable.
Thanks for that. Yes, thank you for your story and also for making the transition. We appreciate that. So Stephanie, I'll start with you. Could you share a little bit about, you started sharing a bit of your journey. Could you share a little bit about whether you're at the place in your career that you thought you would be when you first started?
I have to tell you, I work for the best company in the world. I mean, I feel very fortunate. I never thought that I would go this far. My goals in government affairs were smaller than what ended up happening with my career. But if you love something and you work hard at it, eventually after you get a couple of years on your resume, headhunters start to find you. And I found myself in the fortunate position of lots of headhunters coming to find me and talk me into new jobs, which is what happened with this job also. So it's more than I could have expected or thought of.
Great. We'll come back to that a little bit because I'm curious to dig in to how you've transferred from so many different places, but we'll come back to that. Najin, can you share, are you where you expected to be in your career in energy?
completely no. So life is always changing, and even this millisecond world is changing. So, but like as you can guess from my background, sustainable development and architecture, I landed on impact investing on Wall Street, and now I'm a founder of Climate Tech. So like, yeah, long story short, like the very, very diverse, and then, you know, a lot of turmoil, but turned out it's like keeping your passions and aptitudes like open for the entire opportunity, and then just be honest to yourself, like what do you really want to do and what do you contribute to the which industry or like which direction that will lead you, like the passion will lead you to the place. And yeah.
Thanks for that. So can you share kind of what skills you were able to transfer from impact investing in the strategy space to your work now as a founder?
Yes, so I did my internship at like one of the French bank impact investing strategist, and then I checked on their like carbon per dollar like portfolios, but most of the portfolios is not based on the real-time carbon, just the estimate. So I pitched to the CTOs, like that's the 3rd days of my internship. So like learning, be brave, proactive, no one's gonna hurt you, and then I pitched my ideas, like why don't we have this kind of like technology ready, and then just get the real-time carbon, and you will have a better, greener, more transparent portfolio in the world. And she said, oh, that's a great idea. Why don't you start out your own business? So like, I took it seriously, and then I quit my job. So, but anyway, so the skill is like open-minded, and also like definitely communicated with all different verticals, like, because some people is in their silos. So that being said, you have to step on their silo. You have to understand like where they're coming from, what their language is, and what you could get out of it. So that's a very important, I think, most important skill is like communications. And then you have to visualize, like, I'm a visual person, so like visualize what's your like short-term, long-term goal, and then what do you want to, like, what tools, what means, and what network will bring you there. And then that is literally the point I got the most of the excitement out of it, like, wow, something coming out of nothing, and then I'm creating the path. So like, yeah, so sorry, my answer was like a little bit rambling.
No, that's great, that's great. Stephanie, would love to hear about your own path and how you've transferred over a 30-plus year career, how you've transferred from one job to the next.
So I find it interesting we're still talking about not enough women in energy, because when I started, I was the only woman in energy. I worked in heavy-duty trucking. There are no women. And I worked my way up through the environmental path. The Clean Air Act amendments had just passed in 1990, and they were starting to regulate diesel. And so somebody needed to look at all this data and figure out what we were going to do. And I worked my way up to senior vice president at that company and left after 16 years. And the reason I left is because a utility association called the Western Energy Institute called me and said, hey, we noticed you work for this trade association for all of this time, and you have built this great organization and government affairs. We'd like you to come work for us and be president of the Western Energy Institute. So I said, oh, okay. And I did, and it was amazing because it moved me from the transportation industry where there was no women into utilities where the utility companies had women in positions that were higher level positions, not just entry level, which you would see in a lot of the different organizations that I've worked with. And so I lived in Portland for a few years and decided, I miss California, I better get back. So I left and wanted to get back in government affairs. And I'm a lobbyist. I liked interacting with politics, government officials, governors, counties. It's fun. And so I started my own business, and I called it the Transportation and Renewable Energy Dialogue. And my first client was ConocoPhillips, and a solar company, and a lighting company. And in 2008, I was trying to do things that were a little before their time, because renewable energy wasn't sexy then. It was just starting. People weren't really at that point where they were willing to commit to it. It was more the California Air Resources Board threatening companies with it, but nothing was really happening. So ConocoPhillips wanted me to go in-house. I had the opportunity to run their Western region, which is a huge, huge job. I tripled my income. It was this amazing opportunity. And I was there during a merger where we spun off Phillips 66, and I was able to move with Phillips 66 and get an even bigger job. And I was doing quite well and just decided one day, I really don't want to do oil. I don't like being an oil lobbyist. What am I going to do about this? And so they started doing a restructure, and my boss had been let go, who was a dear friend, and I wanted to work. What is a golden handshake? How do I get a golden handshake? How do I get out of this? They said, you quit. You don't just, And so I took a year off and got my dive master in scuba diving, and came back and took a job with a Canadian renewable energy company at one-fourth of the pay, and built their U.S. program. And then I was able to move on to the next renewable energy company, Rev Renewables, who's also located here and also a very good company in New York, an Ellis Power Company. And I worked there and built their government relations program. And then this headhunter called me, and I heard about Goldman Sachs, and who could say no to Goldman Sachs? I couldn't. And the one thing I really like about where I'm at, there is diversity. I mean, there are as many Spanish-speaking people in my company as there are people who speak English. There's people that look like everyone. And so I really valued that as a job must have. And I feel like I'm in the right place, and moving was really good for me.
That's excellent. That's so great to see sort of the shifts you've seen in the industry too, in terms of how the composition. So you started to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you've seen as an energy industry professional for the past few decades. Would love to dig more into that, and then Najin will have the same question for you too.
And I think things have changed, laws have changed, so I don't know that you'll face some of the things that people my age and probably 10, especially 10 years older than me, because some of the laws were coming in the 90s where you couldn't discriminate. I mean, I know my mother had to quit her job when she was pregnant with me because you couldn't be a school teacher when you were pregnant. And so, but I had issues with, I was doing the work of director, vice president level people and had 10 times the responsibility, but I wasn't paid the same, and I wasn't, I was working twice the hours. And so I had to address those issues, and I did. And in my first job in the trucking area, they listened to me. I mean, I made a difference. I said, you can't pay this person this. Well, they have a family. So do I. I'm a single mother. I mean, what is the difference? I am a single mother. They have a family. We're the same. And so those conversations, having those conversations with your employer, they were tough conversations. Those conversations don't happen today. You don't have to explain why you need equal pay. You don't have to explain why you shouldn't have to do more work than someone who has a different job or a similar job. So there was a lot of those types of things in the 90s and early 2000s, but California really has strong labor protection laws, and things have changed drastically there and in other states that I worked in over the period of time.
Great. Najin, would love to hear about some of the challenges you've encountered.
As a woman?
As a woman in the energy sector.
So, yeah, just like I've been into a lot of conferences, and as just mentioned, like, if you go into the intermissions, you don't have any lines in the restroom. So that's just quick, the thing. So great for us. But when it comes to the contribution, so I turned out to be I'm the couple of women of color in the entire room. So that's what I'm learning. Because my background was in the finance, and then unlike Goldman Sachs, those French banks, again, so we have very spacious the restroom. But I got a lot of support from women as well. So they're more open-minded when I reach out to them, because it turned out they're the literally representative of women of the company. So it turned out we just realized that we need to cultivate and then also grow our own communities as a woman in the energy sector. So, and then I think other industries are same. So when it comes to women, so it's more about me being a woman, but more I have to be maybe quadruple more proactive, so to get what I want and then to raise my voice. So that's a kind of extra efforts, if try to get my voice heard, and then help those decision makers to just get their action on it. So yeah, bit challenging.
Yeah, but I love how even as you reflect on some of the challenges, you see some of the opportunities that have come up in terms of female mentorship and stuff like that. So that's
exactly.
Great.
That's a stronger and thicker bond, I say, because we felt the same things. It's kind of empathetic, but at the same time, we're forward-looking. So we need to grow these communities. Then what should we do? We have to help our mentees more. So yeah.
So speaking of growing the community of women in energy, would love to kind of switch the conversation a little bit and talk about trends that we're seeing in the industry currently. What do you see as the biggest trends currently?
Trends?
Industry trends.
Yeah, as you can heard of like multiple times of the Reduction Act, now we could have funneling through the monies. Even EPA just like launched their RFP for 60 billions for sustainable financings to help those renewable energies, like, accommodating those like roof of the buildings. And so, so as we could expect, a lot of new jobs will be born, and then it's almost burning as well. And then the trend is a little bit like for a couple of years ago, it's more like archaic, old school industry. That's why you could see that like less diversity than the other industry. But now we will have a fresh waves coming through. So we're expecting a lot of creativities, and then also a lot of diverse people comes in. So super excited on that. And also government funds and then the laws changing so fastly to adopt those new waves. So that's I think I could feel this from the frontier. So.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I know that we saw some statistics earlier about the growth in the energy sector, and I have to kind of give a plug for New York City, working for the New York City Economic Development Corporation. We've been studying some of the trends, and we're projecting a growth in energy jobs of like 17,000 by 2040. And I think these are opportunities that is really important to get on the radar, folks who are trying to interested in the energy sector. Really driven by, these jobs are going to be really driven by utility scale storage and utility scale solar and battery storage. And so would love to hear, given your experience with
Yes, as an independent power producer, this is a good news for companies like mine. I don't know that you're familiar with the details of these two bills, but it's billions of dollars infused into tax credits that really buys down the cost of putting in solar, wind, green hydrogen, CCS. It's not just renewables, it's lots of other types of energy, but especially renewables. And it's very exciting. If you follow, I'll give you an example of emerging jobs. There's a big hydrogen hub announcement that's going to be coming out. And the Department of Energy is going to pick 7, 8, 9, or 10 hydrogen hubs, where every one of those hydrogen hubs is going to be, New York is one of them in the running too. It's going to have a number of solar, wind, battery storage, and other types of energy surrounding them. There's going to be this huge infusion of jobs. There's just so much opportunity, and it's such a great time for you guys to be looking at the energy world when all of this job successes are going to come forward.
Yeah, would love to dig into that a little bit, right? And just talk about what you're seeing in terms of trends around the types of jobs, what you'd encourage folks to be paying attention to in terms of opportunities.
So I'm looking at this through the lens of being a woman and seeing where people are in the jobs right now, not in the past, but right now. And I see a lot of, I think community relations is just an excellent job for women in the solar, wind, battery storage, land development, because oil and gas people have known forever that when the public gets upset, you're in trouble. Well, renewable energy is relatively new, and so companies start up and they start with their developers, they get the engineers and the math people and the finance people, and they put a project together, and what do they forget? Who are their neighbors? And what do they have to do to get the project built? They have to get a permit. And guess what? You got to go to your neighbors to get that permit. So that is an area that is just, I think going to be huge, because every company that I've gone to, I've been the person that put the program in place because they didn't have community relations, because they didn't think of it early. And so that's just a really big one. Another one is if you have an environmental engineering or that kind of degree, all of these projects have to be permitted. And the oil and gas people and the renewable energy people are kind of fighting it out in Republican states right now. You go to Ohio, you go to Pennsylvania, you go to Arizona. If you're renewable, you're a Democrat. If you're oil and gas, you're a Republican, and they don't like each other. So, so these are other areas where it's, getting in there and getting into the permitting environmental sciences. It's creating ways where you can, still build a project, but protect these endangered species. And we want to be good, stewards of the land, but build projects that also help with, the climate. So.
Great. Thank you for that very practical advice around some of the paths folks can be thinking about. Najin, I'd love to dig into on the climate tech front and kind of talk about, of course, your founder's journey. Every founder's journey is a different one, but would love to hear about any kind of pathways you feel you connected to as a founder, whether it was like incubators or accelerators that supported your journey that you want to make folks aware of.
Yeah, I didn't expect that after graduation in 2018, and then I have to be reborn, like when I start up my own startups within Columbia again. So when connected to the stories, I quit my job and then start out this journey out of Wall Street, and then I applied for National Science Foundations and then Columbia Engineering Incubator. And at that moment, Local Law 97, you probably heard of the pioneering law measuring real-time carbon and penalizing the entire New York City buildings, never started. So I didn't know what to do, how to nail it down about connecting my passions about quantifying the influence of impact investing through disruptive technology, such an abstract idea. But Columbia literally helped me out, connected to all those, the mentors with the answers. And then when I finished the program, voila, the city passed a law. And then we finally got the penguin on the iceberg, we pinpointed the climate, the customers. So then we moved on to NYU Innovation Incubator, and we got the third place. And then we met our first customer over there, and then we did the pilots, and then NYCDC literally helped me out. So I got selected as a founder fellows, and then New Lab helping me. So turned out the entire ecosystem from Columbia to all the way to the New York City actually, have a great the nurturing system for us to grow up our ideas, from MVP to all the way to this connecting and then visualizing, realizing our product with the commercial education status. So it was amazing. And then I was surprised, within New Lab and then my CDC, we met so many female founders a lot. So we literally have a launch group as well. So wow, this is completely new. And then also the opening remarks of the Founder Fellowship 2023, they said, definitely I could feel that they really want to boost the diversity throughout their program. And then I was a beneficiary, so of course. So, and then I feel that the bringing diverse ideas, not just because of my color of skins or backgrounds, but the beyond your just experience, how you could bring more colors onto those ideas is I think most competitive advantage for the startups compared to competing against the existing giants like Google or Goldman Sachs. So yeah, really appreciate it and very joyful journey so far. Very challenging though.
Great, that's great. So what I'm hearing is that New York City is a great place to start a climate tech startup.
Yeah,
that ad's brought to you by New York City.
Yeah, we are the part of the Village Capital Sustainability Cohort as well, another accelerator. 2 startups actually moving across west to east. They landed it 2 weeks ago. Former NASA, crazy guys, climate techs. They knew that New York is literally the epicenter of it. So that's why they decided to move from San Fran to here. So yeah, it's happening.
Love to hear that. Love to hear that. Great. So thank you so much for sharing your journey of how New York City has supported you and the different institutions here. Love to hear that. We only have a couple minutes left, so as we move to closing and then opening up to the audience for Q&A, would love to hear kind of one piece of advice you would give to your younger self.
Oh, my younger self. I should have taken more vacations. I think being more aggressive. Go for what you want. Because, so what if someone says no? If you don't ask for something, you're not going to get it. And what I've learned over time is a lot of times when you ask for things, the answer is yes.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, couldn't agree more for like taking vacation, like because I got diagnosed diabetes after working 120 hours, and then now I started finding have a great communication with my mental and body. Now I'm back to normal, so good news. After a year of endeavor, lost 40 pounds. Thank you. And then that's all about the visualization, because I started putting the continuous glucose monitor in my arm and then tested with my body. It's like what actually make a sugar spikes a lot. That's what actually my startup's doing for the carbons. But anyway, so and so definitely know yourself, know your limit, not just being said like you're not gonna, the burst your limit, but like knowing your physical limits so that you could be in the sane, and then healthy and very, the status. And that's the thing. And then second thing is what happened between my graduation and then getting a job. I lost my universe, which was my single mom, my best friends, and my mentors, like my everything. And then I realized that life, and then on heart attack. So life is so finite, now or never. And then that was the moment I was reborn to like, yeah, give it a shot. Talk to the CTO of Morgan Stanley. Why not? And then as a fresh graduate, I did that. So because like I was so overthinking, I should only talk to associate or junior. No, your time is also very valuable. So just reach out to them. And then the worst thing, they will never remember, or they will say no, or they'll walk away. That's it. So go get it. So, and then New York City will give you the like full of serendipitous encounters or bump it into people now after COVID, right? So, or you never know who could be your best friends or who could be your mentors of the life. And which how I met like someone who sit next to my subway or in the cafe. That's how I met our first teammate. So you never know. So get the best out of it.
Thank you so much. So I think we're going to open it up to questions, but thank you so much, Najin and Stephanie, for just sharing all of those really insightful stories. It's so amazing to kind of hear an arc of someone who's been in the energy industry for a number of decades and someone who's in sort of her first decade of being in the energy industry, and just seeing all the ways in which your stories connect and really provide wisdom to this group here. So thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing? My name is Sophia Musa. I'm Assistant Vice President of Women.NYC. I want to thank our incredible panel, Najin and Stephanie, and Nse for moderating. We want to open up the conversation now. My colleague Alex will be here with a microphone, so if you have any questions, please raise your hand and we can get the mic over to you. Don't be shy.
Hello, my name is Anne. I was wondering if you could pick any job in the energy sector right now and just start fresh, what would you like to do?
I like being a lobbyist.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Paola, and I'm an electrical engineer who really like the lobbying side. How do you make the jump? I really think that the policy, the connection, needs more people, and also needs some people that comes with the technical baggage. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. How do you make that jump if you're interested in that side?
I know a lot of electrical engineers that are in the policy world, and I think it's helpful to actually have that background, especially when you're dealing with electricity. I mean, a lot of the things we're handling bills that are about moving electrons, and they get very, very technical. The committee staff knows all of the things you know. And so there's a role for technical people in public affairs. The question is, do you want to start lower? You can make more money as an electrical engineer than beginning in policy. You may not like the job as much going forward, because my job's really fun. You would love it. But so those are kind of the trade-offs you have to look at. But there's always a way to transition if you have a goal. And I would recommend if you have a job that you think is interesting in renewable energies, go to LinkedIn and print out job and write down what it is that are the attributes you like about those jobs, the scope of those jobs. And then look at what you do and try to transition. Try to apply. Okay, I talked to somebody here tonight that was a pharmaceutical supply chain. The biggest shortage in the energy industry right now is supply chain people. They are a high demand. It doesn't matter if you do it in pharmaceuticals, if you do it in baby products, getting stuff here and getting through the tariffs and all of that is really, really important because these tax credits expire. You have to get your projects done in a certain amount of time. And so these are transferable skills. So if you're creative and you're paying attention to what you'd like, you can transition any skill that you have from school into a new job with enough work.
Hi, thank you so much for coming to speak to us. My name is Anastasia, and I was wondering if you could speak to what extent does the culture of a specific company impact the way that your day-to-day feels at that company? Is it more just going to be the size of the corporation, or are the values and the specific culture of the place actually impacting your day-to-day?
Okay, my second last job on Wall Street was about the digital transformation and innovation. So I talked to a lot of people, including HR, and also Goldman Sachs is a great culture, but like all those like finance people having very difficult time to retain their talents like from Google's or the like big techs because of the core values and cultures. It's like you cannot build an overnight. So very difficult. So, and then that's why it's not the size of the company. Of course, it would dilute it like over growth, but a lot of founders are saying the same things, like you need to set up your pillar first about your core values. For us, transparency, sustainability, and diversity. So, because without that, and then you're just like become a like money-making machines, then people think that it's okay, this company is money-making, it's like profitability is like their goal, and then people think that it's replaceable as well. Like as the machine think that you will be the part and you will be replaceable. So it's the kind of things that knowing first, like what's the resonated values, most important things, and then also give you the advice is meeting the people that do you really believe stand the core values like the company you're working with, or like through the communication with the 10 minutes or 15 minutes coffee call, like coffee chat, you could feel it, like this person literally believes in or just like work for pay the bills. So like it's completely different. And I put the culture on the top. So even we are very lean startup, so that's very important because I was bounced up from those lot of organizations. Turned out it's not like sustainable environment for me to contribute or learn. So, and then as a millennials and Gen Zs, they do more care about their contributions align with their values and life philosophy. So I think that's getting more important. So that's my personal opinion though. So.
I'd love to add just briefly from the New York City Economic Development Corporation perspective. So we're a quasi-public entity, right? So we have the sort of privilege of being part of the public sector, but also technically, organizationally, we are a nonprofit. And so what that means is that we have all of the kind of public sector impact and public sector remit, which I think can be deeply inspiring, while also having some of the like private sector flexibility in order to achieve our goals. And it's definitely created a particular type of culture that brings together folks who are really impact oriented and want to sort of see things like the green economy grow in New York City and these energy jobs that we're forecasting actually come to life, and programs for diverse founders come to life and support the climate tech ecosystem. So any number of kind of publicly minded goals brings people who are committed to that type of vision for New York City, while also folks who really want to be able to like move quickly and get things done.
I think what you said about culture is very important, because the leader of your company, your CEO, sets the tone for the company. Some companies are good companies to work for, some companies are not good companies to work for. And my recommendation is, when you're interviewing, ask to interview with more than just the people you're going to work with. You want to find out what that culture is in that company, because you may have different opportunities, and maybe a company that has, the job might not be as much money, but it might be a great place to go. So those are things you really need to investigate, because you're in the wrong culture for your personality. You're not going to do well, and you're not going to be happy.
You guys raise your hands? Okay.
Hi, I'm Samantha. Nice to meet you. This question is for Najin. I completely agree with you about the culture, and I agree with you, Stephanie, that the CEO sets the tone, and I'm actually experiencing it right now. So you actually mentioned something about the MVP, right? And MVP is so important in order to be able to build, and that becomes the foundation. And so I have a hard time kind of understanding what that MVP is, or MVP was for you. And also, when you have that MVP, sometimes it's very, very difficult to see the big picture, right? And then what was it that drove you, right? From the MVP to where you are, and all these people helping you to get to where you are.
Yeah, that's a very, very difficult parts, like literally moving from the MVP ideation stage to the prototyping. So, but for my experience with the Columbia and National Science Foundation, like bootcamp, is you actually check for our goal, like big value proposition is like measuring the influence of impact, literally influence of impact of climate change using disruptive technologies. Like, so how I could measure, and then what's the industry would get the most impact of this climate data, and then what technology is available. So I try to dissect and then just chop it into this researchable, like Googleable kind of ideas, rather than just like, circling, looping endlessly. Then I found that the cement and steel industry is like fuming 30% of entire global carbon. Then I just reach out to those people about how they think about, carbon reduction, adopting new carbon sequestrations. So it's all about like reaching out and asking questions. Then you'll get the immediate like market signals and then answers on it. Then checking on the government sector, of course, and then what lobby is working, and then what's the actually new trends comes in from the top bottom level. So, and then I was too lucky actually. So at that moment I was struggled, but like Local Law 97 got passed. Then everything just got so fastly reach out to those building managers, building owners, tenants, and then talk to the NYC, and then turned out, wow, this is something doable in this new market. So yeah, but without tapping on it, and then like literally you feel like blindfolded, but like you have to tap and then sense what you're dealing with, then you have to narrow it down and reach out to the people. Yeah, so again, communication skills works. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for the question.
Hi, my name is Erica, and I'm up here. I'm transitioning from the world of television to the energy sector, hopefully. My question was about the hydrogen hub that you were mentioning before. I find that on these big projects, there's so many different companies that are involved that you need to find to figure out where the jobs are. And it's difficult to kind of find that breadcrumb trail to follow. Do you have any recommendations?
There's a lot of information out there on the Hydrogen Hub, because they had DOE meetings about it, bringing people together, putting the hubs together. When they release the winners, it'll be public information, because all the but I know I can give you a few. I know I'm heading to Portland tomorrow for business, but the Lemhi tribe up in Ferndale, and I think it's BP up there, BP Petroleum, and a couple of other big companies. They're one of the hydrogen hubs. There's one here, and I believe
NYSERDA is leading the one here.
Yeah, and so it's a lot of companies, and you could Google NYSERDA and see who's signed up for their meetings. You could probably call a staff person there. You might have a contact even, but it's not too difficult to find the companies because they've been kind of public about it. You know, I know there's another one in West Virginia. There's one in D.C. There's one that is there's two in California, but the one big one is through the UC Davis Transportation Studies, and I think there's one in Texas too. So they're everywhere. But those jobs they're gonna be looking for people, and you'll be positioned. And you could probably put in LinkedIn. You could probably put Hydrogen Hub, and jobs might pop up.
Yeah, and then specifically for the hydrogen hubs too, and the New York one that NYSERDA is leading, I'd encourage you to also just like check out the kind of webinars that they might be having about that, because oftentimes the folks who go to that are kind of partners, and you might be able to just like get an actual name of someone at a company that you're interested in that you can, cold call.
Actually, I'll take it a little further. When they have the meetings, go. They're public meetings. I mean, and people are going to stand up. That's what I do. I go to meetings and testify. I say my name. I say my title. I say what I'm there for and what I want. I mean, I got to do. Like you probably go back and listen to videos that they still have online.
Just popping in. I think we have time for one more question.
Hi, I'm Kanika, and this is to Stephanie. I used to work in the regulatory affairs space in India, and I'm hoping to break into the US government affairs space. So I'm literally asking you for what I want. How do I get a job in your team?
Okay, well. All right, we're going to play this. I'm going to play this game. What's your degree in?
MPA, Energy and Environment, Masters in Public Administration in Energy and Environment.
And energy marketing? Okay. So energy marketing is
energy marketing, energy and environment.
Okay, so environment. What do we need right now? What have we all been talking about? Permitting. And permitting is government affairs. The closest thing to community relations is permitting. Sometimes the permitting person is community affairs. Community affairs people work for people like me, because I do the state and federal stuff, and then the local stuff rolls up. So you start in the permitting, you get into the community relations, you can move into the state, and once you're on a team, then you can move around in a company on a team. The best way to get in government affairs, though, for you people that aren't in energy right now, is to go to become an analyst at NYISO, who's the grid. And once you learn about the grid, we're gonna come looking for you because we need help with transmission. We got to figure out how to do transmission. So, and the studies. So you have something we need. We see it on your resume. We're gonna come looking for you, right? Same with NYSERDA. You know about the environment. You know what the permitting, structures are for the state. New York has a special permitting. I worked on this bill. I was quite proud of it. They got rid of Article 10, which was local permitting, and created renewable energy office in the governor's office in New York. So it's done statewide. So anybody who works there is very, very valuable to a renewable energy company, because you got to go to the state to get the permit. So any of these avenues will get you into government relations.
Okay. I'm going to wrap up the Q&A. Thank you so much to our incredible panelists, Stephanie and Najin, and to our wonderful moderator, Nse. Let's see if I know how to use this thing. Okay. Perfect. Okay, it's me again. Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Sophia Musa, Assistant VP of Initiatives at the New York City Economic Development Corporation. I want to thank this incredible group of women who, gave us their time today. And I also want to thank our partners, Women in Energy, the Center on Global Energy Policy at Columbia and NYU, and of course the Women.NYC team. I also want to ask for something that I want, since that's what we're talking about, which is for you to take 5 minutes out of your time to fill out our post-event survey. It won't even take 5 minutes. It'll take like two minutes. So these, we'll follow up over email with this, but also if you have a few minutes, please. This helps us to inform and adjust our programs and make them better for you. But once again, thank you for coming out tonight. A couple of things that were really interesting to me that I just want to highlight before we close out is this idea around passion. Passion will lead you to your path and will lead you to your role. It's a really hard world out there, so it's nice to like what you do and to ask for what you want. And as Nse said, there is a really vibrant green economy home here in New York City, and we're trying to grow it, and I hope this community tonight showed you all of the connections and possibilities and that you made some connections here tonight. And we hope to see you at the next event. Thank you.